Hello.
Hey, dude.
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for doing this. It should be interesting. So how you been? How's your quarantine going?
It's like starting to get weird.
Yeah.
But just barely, like being a single musician that lives by myself, life is really not that much different than usual.
Right. Yeah.
Other than like, oh yeah, maybe on like that Wednesday I would have met a friend in a bar for a little bit, or like gone and got a hamburger or something. But other than that, it's like, oh yeah, I like lots of alone time, lots of just like finding stuff to do around the house, so it's not that much different. But now that we're like, like full on a month in, it's starting to get a little strange.
Yeah, I have the same feeling. Really, I don't do anything but go to work and then go home. And then my whole day seems to just revolve around like, what is it that I'm going to eat and where am I going to get it from? Or how long is this going to take me to cook? And then I spend all that time cooking it and then I do the same shit.
Yeah.
So it feels the same, except for I'm working in my basement and I don't really see anybody but Julie and the kids.
Sure. And like, that's the thing. It's like a lot of it is like food based, right? Even now, like the only thing that like actually takes me out into the world is like, okay, I need food. I got to figure out grocery store or something, but that's like all there is, right?
Yeah. We've been having everything like groceries delivered. But like everything revolves around food now because it's sort of like I wake up, I drink coffee, then I think about the thing that I'm going to make. And then it takes me like an hour and a half to do it. And then I eat it. And then once every hour, I just get hungry again.
Right. I mean, I'm sure we're all going through a very similar thing. It's just food. All right, coffee, hungry, food, kind of putz around the house, do some work, coffee, food, repeat.
Yeah, I mean, I've left the house maybe, including this, coming to the studio 10 times at the most in a month. Yeah. And every time I go out, I have a weird anxiety that I'm wondering, is that going to go away?
Right.
Like I'm like scared or skeptical of everything, or maybe really judgy. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I try to not think about all that stuff because I'm just like, ooh, it's too much. La 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 la. Don't want to.
Yeah, you can't worry too much about it, and I haven't gotten that far, but it is weird. It does feel weird.
Right.
It feels like light apocalypse.
Yeah. Apocalypse light. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Just been wearing pajamas for a month and like fucking around with pedals in the bass, playing all the guitars that I never have time to play. I've made like 6 or 7 new things like from start to finish in completion where I'm like, now what? Like I'm 2 years ahead.
I will say one thing that I am tired of is seeing videos or photos of people playing guitar in their pajama pants. I can't. It's too much. Too many like guys in their jammies like playing guitar. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, there's some things that just don't get a pass no matter what the situation.
That's right.
And I feel like that's it, really. On day 2 of quarantine, I bought an electronic drum set from Sweetwater.
Oh, would you get like a Roland V drum set or something?
No, I was looking at those and they're like $5,000. And I was like, do I want an electronic drum set like $5,000? Do I want it that bad? So no, I ended up going with an Alesis Strike Pro because it still feels like playing real drums.
Awesome.
I felt like at that point, and mind you, this was 2 days into this, that I'm really losing my shit. It's like, this is what I did. Like, I bought this, like, in an impulse panic buy of, like,
on day 2.
What am I going to do? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, being like a little drama queen. Like, oh my God, it's day 2. I'm so bored. I need this electronic drum set.
Yeah, all of these guitars and pedals aren't enough.
Yeah.
The enormous modular synth that I just went down that rabbit hole. Like, that wasn't enough. I need electronic drums.
Right.
And done with them? Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, because that's the thing, right? Every guitar player on Earth fancies themselves a drummer. I know you play drums too, but like as a general thing, like guitar players, we think we know how to play drums. So it's like you could sit down and play drums, and then after 15 minutes, you're like, okay, I got that out of my system. I'm done. Like I'll come back in another 2 weeks or something.
And that is exactly what I do with that. It's like 10 minutes a day. And I'm like, whoo.
Yeah, exactly.
I really practiced. And then I'm like, oh, it was 8 minutes. Yep. Good work.
Yeah, later. I'll come back to this later. Yeah, same thing. That's how it works.
So do you want to start with these questions that the has posted for you?
Okay, what if you were like, hit me with some easy ones and then slide into the gear questions? Okay. In a way to not bore people, to be like, oh yeah, I know, who is this guy talking about this band he likes? You know, like they want to hear about gear or whatever. That seems smart.
Yeah. Well, then we'll start with the one that's probably we could probably be done after this. Dixie Chicks or Megadeth?
Wow. Dixie Chicks or Megadeth? I'm trying to think of like a Dixie Chicks song.
Right. Or What World This Matters.
Right. Well, I mean, okay, because here's the thing. Dave Mustaine, I believe, is like pretty Christian, like into it Christian.
Yeah, questionably religious. That's what
questionably religious. Yeah. And that's kind of freaky to me. Okay. Yeah. Dixie Chicks, Natalie Maines is obviously like way liberal and like outspoken about it. And I think that's rad. And also Natalie Maines is like a part of the Howard Stern universe. And she's like been in it like as a guest a bunch, and she gets referenced or she was at one point during like a Howard Stern era. And I'm a big Stern guy. So I'm just going to go Dixie Chicks.
Dixie Chicks.
Yeah, I'll bet there's like some cool like all country pop songs in there that I would find maybe a little more interesting than Megadeth. Like, at this point in my life.
Okay. That's a respectable answer. I couldn't tell you what a Dixie Chicks song is, but I know Megadeth has Rust in Peace. Which is a great record, but it's an anomaly in their whole like catalog, in which like personally everything that came before it, it seems they all seem like demos. They don't seem like completed songs.
Right. Okay.
And everything that came after it is fucking ridiculous. Like nothing I would want to hear. But that record is perfect.
Okay. And like Megadeth is the kind of band where that's like a deep catalog too, right?
Yeah.
That seems like overwhelming to me, and I don't know. Again, just at this very moment thinking about that. Also, as like a quick little side note, a friend of mine through an employer and blah, 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 like kind of almost tried to set me up on a date with Natalie Maines once. And like, I was like, I don't know. That's so crazy that I kind of just like was like, I don't know if I could do that. But like, that's another like little like maybe a notch on the Dixie Chick side. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go Dixie Chicks.
Okay, think of where that could have gone. What your life could be like. Right
Trust me, I definitely think about where that would have gone. Absolutely. I probably just would have wanted to talk about Howard Stern. Honestly, I would have just dorked out to her about that.
Well, I had no idea that would go so deep.
There you go.
Another easy one.
Okay.
Oreos or Chips Ahoy?
I've more recently bought a bag of Chewy Chips Ahoy and like decimated the entire bag in like 2 sittings. More recent than having done that to a bag of Oreos, but I've definitely consumed more Oreos in my life. I had this thing for a while where I would go to 7-Eleven, get a pack of Oreos, and then get a Hershey's white chocolate chip bar. Mm-hmm. And how would I do this? I guess I would take an Oreo, disassemble an Oreo, and like make like a little sandwich and put the Hershey's white chocolate within the Oreo and then eat it, blah, blah, blah. And I've had more Oreos in my life than Chips Ahoy but I've eaten Chips Ahoy more recently. But I'll go with Oreos.
Oreos, that's a good choice. That's the choice that I would go with, too.
Yeah, that's like kind of a classic.
The thing that you were just explaining is it's like one of those, it makes perfect sense to you, but when other people hear it are like, what the fuck do you do?
Yeah, it was stupid. Yeah,
I
but I did that
thing with Reese cups and pretzels, in which I shoved the whole Reese cup in my mouth and then quickly shovel pretzels in.
Wow, so you say Reese.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Reese's?
That's an
Reese's.
And this is like we're not going to do this. I'm not going to go down this road every question, but like that's another of like a famous Howard Stern thing where his producer Gary calls it Reese's and Howard roasts him for like an hour about him calling it Reese's and not Reese's. But anyways,
that's the thing I guess I never noticed, but yeah, that's what I always do that.
Yeah.
I say that. I know it's the other way.
All right, well, there's the easy one.
All right, we're going to move to, for some reason, you got like a lot of like desert island style questions from people.
Okay.
I should read who wrote these questions to you.
Okay.
This is actually a really great question. I am Dylan Christie, I think, who asked this. If you only had one string on your guitar and you could only use 3 pedals, which 3 pedals would you use?
Am I choosing the string?
I think you can because he didn't clarify.
Were I to choose which string I could have, clearly I would have the low E because you could always, it would be a lot easier to pitch shift up a low E than to pitch shift down a high E, right? So yeah. I would just have a low E. I would have to have probably a whammy pedal. I think that's gonna track the best, and also I would just have some chord options with it, right? Or maybe I could actually use some sort of like pitch shifting delay to have 2 things in there. Shoot, wow. I'm like looking around right now. It's like a complete mess.
It looks so organized.
That's organized, and it's not. Like, it's a night. My thing, I can't, first of all, I don't have the space to have my pedal business organized. And, like, even though I do feel like I have kind of, like, OCD about some things, my pedal zone is not OCD. It's, awful, awful, awful. Okay, 3 pedals. I'm going to go with a CE2 chorus pedal.
Okay.
I'm going to go with one of these. I am going to... I feel like I want to take the whammy. What else is like... What would be another like pitch shifting pedal for like those sorts of options? Like what...
I mean, I feel like the whammy is a really good choice for that.
Because there's just so... You know what? I know.
Options.
I know. I'm going to take the bass whammy.
Okay.
Because the bass whammy, I don't know. I feel like when Tom Cram was working at Digitech, he did confirm this. I believe the tracking on the bass whammy and the regular whammy was actually the exact same, identical, I think, except the bass whammy had an upper 10th. It had or like a high third. So it had like, this sound like, well, here, I had a bass. It would pitch shift, like you could have this.
Yeah.
And I don't know who mentioned that. And it's a major third, I guess, whatever that you would call that. But Tom said that there was just some bass player that like specifically requested that interval, and that made it onto the bass whammy. And I love like an upper high third like that. So I'd go CE2, a bass whammy, and then let's go with, well, I've definitely said this before. Let's get that 2-in-1 Dispatch Master, right?
Dispatch Master.
Yeah, right?
Okay. You don't have to. You don't have to pick an EarthQuaker pedal just because.
I know, but I'm just looking at it and I'm like, well, you know what? I got asked this before, or maybe it was just. I remember specifically being like, oh, a desert island pedal would definitely be a Dispatch Master because it's just like a classic sound and a 2-for-1. I mean, like I'm not going to cheat and be like, oh, this multi effect or like whatever, you know, like I want to keep it real that way.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised by the CE2, I have to say.
Do you not consider that to just be the chorus?
I do, actually. But it's a toss-up between the CE1 and the CE2 for me. I have recently purchased both of them. I had a CE2 for years. It was the only chorus pedal that I ever used, and I found it in the trash in Kenta.
Wow.
I was walking down the street, and it was just sitting right on the top, and it's like,
amazing.
Like 93 or 94, maybe.
I was literally just going to say that must have been sometime in the 90s when it was like, fuck this, like over it, you know?
People did not give a shit.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, that's how you find a CE2 in the trash. But I just bought one on Reverb.
I've never played out of a CE1. I mean, I'm guessing it sounds amazing, and it's like, you know, rad or whatever. But the CE2 is just always like the sound that I would want. I mean, I have a bunch of chorus pedals, like, you know, this little guy. If I need space, this little Ibanez, little nerdy chorus mini is awesome, and like they all sound within. To my ears, I could get, you know, 10 chorus pedals to sound within 15% of one another, and like that's good enough for me. You know.
Yeah, I mean the CE1 I feel like is the exception. There's two settings, chorus and vibrato. It's kind of weird. The chorus setting has a lot of like characteristics of a flanger to it, and the vibrato setting is straight up chorus, but with a triangle. LFO.
Interesting.
There is still clean signal mixed in, so it's not true vibrato, but it is a great sounding pedal. People really lose their shit over the preamp in it.
Oh, can you like crank it to like?
Yeah, it distorts. It does sound good. It's a nice sounding thing. I've built one on its own before. It sounds great, but
you built the preamp by itself?
Yeah, just the preamp by itself.
Oh wow,
that sounds cool.
There's an idea.
It's harsh, but in a good way.
Yeah. Well, that's actually, I mean, well, is it harsh like the distortion knob on a jazz chorus?
Different harsh, I think.
Okay.
It sounds like a smoother version of like plugging straight into a console.
I mean,
to me, that's what it sounds like. If you,
that's cool.
You got to put a buffer in front of it, otherwise it really kills your signal.
Got it.
I just like got like a wave of like nerd feeling over top. You got to put a buffer in front of it, otherwise it just
of course.
Yeah, I was taken aback by myself for a second.
Whoops, I didn't mean to go there. Those are my three. I think I would do a chorus, a pitch shifter, and then reverb delay combo. I feel like that would be enough to satisfy me on a desert island for a little bit.
With one string.
Yeah, with one string. Yep, that's right.
Okay. Let's see.
By the way, I mean, obviously the way that I would kind of signal chain that out would go whammy, chorus, Dispatch Master. I don't know.
That's how I do it too.
Yeah, that seems pretty clear, cut and dry.
Okay, let's go. We're already on this gear path. Dr. Rube is dying to know what single pedal was your gateway pedal in both performance and design. That last part seems excessive. What was your gateway pedal? What was the thing that made it so you were like, pedals are sick?
Well, the very first pedal, where is it? I know I think I have. Oh yeah, here it is. This is my very first pedal ever. The
Classic Fuzz, wow.
The DoD Classic Fuzz. I bought this with my dad at a crappy guitar shop or something. This thing's completely destroyed, by the way. I should send this to you and have you fix this for me because it's completely thrash. But I got this when I was like,
together.
What's that?
I said I'll put that back together.
Damn. Yeah, I got this when I was 11 years old, and I've just held on to it. I mean, that was my first like, okay, this thing's cool. And then I just collected a few things around then. I had like a phaser, you know, like the Boss phaser. And then I got a Korg multi-effect called a Pandora box, which was like the very first, one of the early things that you can like edit stuff on. And I was probably 12 when I had one of those. But I would say the thing that made me go like, whoa, okay, you can do like cool sounds is the, I don't know where it is, the Digitech Synthwa.
Oh, yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, that was like the first one that you could make the guitar sound fully like, and my friend gave it to me. My buddy Patrick was like, here, this thing is too weird. It just makes weird sounds. I'm like, here, let me check that out. And I was playing in punk bands at the time. Mm-hmm. And so like you plug that thing and it does all the kind of like, I don't know, those like kind of synthy growl sounds with a different, like the formats, like the vowel kind of thing you can get to. And that was when I went, whoa, okay, guitar pedals do like, you can make a guitar pedal do this. I didn't even know you could do that, you know, or how someone makes that, you know, come out of a little teeny box. So that may have been the one that made me like really like freak out over it.
Yeah, I feel like actually that it wasn't my gateway pedal, but it was probably one of the first pedals where I was like, oh, you can make some real weird sounds with pedals.
Yeah, that's how I'm interpreting Droob's question, because that was the one that was like my gateway towards like fun stuff. But just like if we're just talking like pedals, it would probably be the classic fuzz. Like, oh, whoa, you know, because I got it on the same day that I got my like, you know, guitar amp, which was just a little crappy like 1/8 keyboard off-brand thing for $60 or whatever. And I think I was probably like, oh yeah, and I need a guitar pedal with it too or something. So like I got this. I mean, I didn't even know what fuzz was. I just always just was like, oh yeah, it's my distortion pedal, which clearly it's a fuzz pedal, you know. But like that would have been my gateway then. Technically, my first pedal of like, whoa, you could feedback and do all this nerdy stuff and sound like Nirvana or something, you know?
Right? Yeah. Oh. The thing that you mentioned about the fuzz, I remember this. I was playing guitar forever. I was touring in bands. I was probably like 8 years into touring in the Party of Helicopters, and still like never really even understood that like there was a bridge and neck switch on my guitar, or that like my Marshall JCM 900 was not a super lead. Like it was just sort of like, I have a Marshall. It was like, I got the Marshall. Like, why doesn't my guitar sound like other people's guitar? And like people would be like, we're using distortion or fuzz. I'm like, it's a Marshall. I'm using like a rat pedal, and it's like, oh, there's different sounds. Like, just looking back on that thing, I actually like, we were cleaning out our living room like probably a year ago and found this alternative press magazine from 2002, and I was in it under this guitar anti-hero thing, and there's an interview with me.
Amazing.
Fucking horrific, because like 2 years later I started EarthQuaker. But I don't even know anything about guitar when they're asking me about it. It's kind of mind-blowing.
How old do you think you were at that point then?
Like when I really started to care, I think, about it. I'm almost embarrassed to say.
I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm embarrassed too. That's why I'm asking you.
Like late 20s.
Okay, 100% same thing. Dude, my first amp that I toured with was like for years and years, probably almost a decade, was a Mesa triple rectifier.
Oh, wow.
It's like the loud one. Oh yeah, a bunch of punk bands I like have that, and it's the most expensive one that I can afford. So I just want that, and I cringe at thinking about like, why is that even like, that's not guitar tone, that's just volume. You know what I mean? And like, so. I didn't even really like figure out mids or like even considering tone on a guitar amp until probably I had been playing out of a half stack for maybe a similar thing, like 7-8 years or something. Like it didn't even occur to me. You know?
It's kind of weird. I do think though, like with that kind of stuff, like when it clicks in your head where you're like, oh, this is how you make all those different sounds, or like this is like the difference between like even just like a JCM 800 and a 900, like this is the difference. Like you can hear it. Like as soon as that stuff clicks, like you start to understand real quick
Absolutely.
Like what it is that makes everything work and what it is that you like and how, like you'll hear like I don't know, I'm just going to pick like a Led Zeppelin record and be like, oh, I know now. I know how they do that.
Right.
Like for me, it was like almost overnight. Where it was like,
yeah.
Oh, I feel like a moron. I should have just spent like 20 minutes trying to figure this out. But I will say this is like, that was probably 2000, early 2000s. And like the internet then is not what it was even like 4 years later. Like
totally.
the wealth of information just readily available.
Totally. And also, it's like, okay, well, then what is the other flip side? Like, oh yeah, reading Guitar Player magazine or whatever. Or we could have figured it out then. But it's like, dude, I wasn't reading. Like, I was like, oh, cool, Primus article. I'm gonna read that, and then I'm just gonna skip to the tabs in the back. Oh, I want to learn that song. All the rest are shit. I'll move on to the next one. You know,
yeah,
like I didn't read. Like,
yeah, I was an asshole. I was a snob. Like,
yeah,
I would have never touched any of that stuff. Like by the time, I don't know. I don't want to get into it. I'm gonna sound like a dick, a crabby old dick.
But yeah, I'm with you on that. I feel embarrassed that it took me so long to like figure that stuff out, but here we are, and
it worked out. It worked out for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You need to be that way, I think.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
All right. I like this question. Worst guitar or pedal you've ever played in your life?
The worst guitar or guitar pedal I've ever played in my life. Fuck. Can you answer that question? Can you think of the worst pedal you've ever played?
Yes.
Can you say, or is it political to where you'll get in trouble?
I don't care.
Let me hear what your worst pedal is and give me a second to think on mine.
The worst pedal I ever played in my life. Actually, it's not really even a pedal. So it's, I guess, I'm cheating a little bit, but I had one of those like Zoom multi-effects you clip onto your strap.
I got one right here. Zoom multi-effect.
It wasn't that. It was like probably like one of the first things Zoom ever maybe made for electric guitar. I had it I was like 12 or 13. It like clipped on and it was awful.
Okay, but
I have 3 of them.
I was going to say, because that's crazy. Okay, fine. The DS1 is like the worst. It's like the worst one, right?
Yeah.
But when the tone is all the way, that's the only way that you play this pedal, right? With like basically the tone all the way to the left.
Yeah.
Anything, for anyone watching this is a good pedal. You can get this to sound good. You just can't bring the tone past like 9 o'clock or something. You keep it all the way to the left, and it sounds pretty okay.
Yeah, I will say this is like, that's my feeling. Anytime I plug it in, I'm like, oh, this is that guitar sound I hate. It's like all like the like early mid 80s like
right.
metal that I actually like the bands and everything, and they wouldn't be good if the tone wasn't that. But it's like, I don't want my guitar to sound like that. But that said, I do kind of feel like I kind of feel like anybody could do this, but like I feel like I can make anything sound acceptable.
Sure, totally.
So like nothing is ever like, ugh. There's shit I don't understand anymore. Like, especially new pedals. Like, there's a lot of new pedals where like I plug it in and I'm like, I don't know.
I guess I have kind of like, I guess this is kind of a bit of a cop-out answer.
Okay.
But I feel like this seems real to me. I think the worst pedal I've played ever, or if I have to pick one, is just the Line 6 DL4. Like, it's stress. It's gone down on me. I've gone through more DL4s. I've been in the middle of a song when it goes down and I have to stop the band and unplug it and reset it and do all this. And like, so that's why it's a crazy thing. It's like, oh, it's one of my favorite things. Like, in fact, shit, I almost want to go back to Desert Island and throw in a DL4, swap something for a DL4, but that's kind of multi-effect, so we're not going to do that. But like, it's just like, I'm not going to sit here and like preach to the choir, but like, yeah, it's a very frustrating thing that like, it's, they go down easily unless you have them modded, which, by the way, to anyone, listening, just get it modded and it's fine. Like, it will increase, its usability by 90% or something like that. But yeah, I
agree.
Maybe that's just the thing. Like, I love it. It does all my favorite things that I want it to do. I hate it that I've spent so much like time and energy getting it to not do that. But I will say, like, fast forward, it's been years since I've had to do that. Like, maybe they fixed something in them. I don't know, but it's fine. Works now, and I'm good with it. In fact, I've had multiple DL4s modded at your old office. Fedge would do them for me.
Yeah.
He did that a couple times.
I learned how to do it from him.
That's right.
I modded mine.
That's right. Yeah. So
one of the few pedals I've modded. One of the other pedals that I modded was a DS1. One of my 3 DS1s I modded.
What is the DS1 mod?
I think I changed the clipping diodes, and there's some other stuff. I don't remember. I did it a long time ago.
Neat. That's awesome.
It's one of those why I have 3 of those pedals. I felt the same way about Yes, Close to the Edge, the record. Whenever I would see one, I would buy it because I felt like I was rescuing it. Because they're all over the place and they're real cheap, and you're like, oh, I feel bad for this. I'm going to get it.
If I were scrolling Craigslist right now and just saw a DL4 for $80, I would be like, oh, hey, sorry, I'll take that. You know what I mean? Do I need a 7th DL4? No, but like, of course, I'm just going to take it. You know what I mean?
Okay, so we got through that one. Pelvis with a 3 for the E.
Okay.
I like that. Very 90s. Can you put your finger on what it is that annoys you / steers you clear of the hashtag, the tyranny of phaser pedals?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Do you like phaser? I think that's what he's asking.
The thing about phaser pedals is it does a thing, and when you like turn, especially if you have like a happening pedal board with a bunch of stuff on it, and you just kind of have your phaser somewhere in the middle, like I feel like when you turn the phaser pedal on, it just takes over, and then you get the phaser sound, and like it's kind of a weird thing for me. I don't really like have that many instances where I want to use a phaser, except when I'm like maybe like doing a guitar solo, and I'll kind of just set it to be kind of like light and not overpowering, and then you can kind of crank on a phaser, and it just kind of like maybe brightens it up or gives like a tiny bit of movement to an already like moving guitar solo. That's like my favorite use of a phaser. But other than that, like I can't really get into it. It's just like you turn it on and it's just doing that sound, Yeah.
No, I understand. It's one of my favorite effects ever for that exact reason. But I kind of do the same thing with it always. And I mean, I can see how phaser doesn't work for what you do. For like what I do, it seems what it does is it fills a place in a change, like real quick in a change where you're not playing anything, but you can do this.
Yes.
It makes everything sound really cool for a second, like it is sliding into the next thing.
Sure.
I really like phaser because I fucking loved Siamese Dream.
I mean, yeah, of course.
I feel like Billy Corgan used the shit out of phasers all the time, and that's why I really like it a lot.
Especially on a lead or something. Yeah. Like you turn it, you pair it with the fuzz and a lead or something, and like it's a cool thing. I just get nervous because it's that sound, But like,
it takes over everything.
And so there's using it to complement maybe a lead or something, or what you're saying, like letting it take over. And especially if you're letting it take over, it's cool to like write a piece of music or a song or a section where you're like, that's going to have phaser on it. I'm writing this part to have phaser on it. That's a cool thing.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not an effect you can just throw on and hope for the best.
Yeah, and a lot of what I do a lot of throwing stuff on and hoping for the best. Like that's one of my like things I like to do, especially like when improvising and stuff. But like that one's a little hard to get around because you just get that sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't have anything against phaser. I just don't really use it all that much. Are you gonna ask me, or I was wondering if you, because one of the few questions I did see And I thought about this, and I have a good answer, but it may have been one of the ones you took out.
Oh, I got them all here, but
okay, the most boring EarthQuaker pedal, the most overrated EarthQuaker pedal, and the most underrated EarthQuaker pedal.
I am gonna ask you that question.
Okay, good. I didn't want to like wuss out on that.
I was gonna lead up to that.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that was in there because like I actually thought about that one.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
Great. Okay, so
here's a couple real boring questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the amps.
Okay.
Do the smaller jazz chorus amps retain the same feel to you as the 120?
I mean, like, do you have any jazz chorus amps?
No, but I have played through the JC 120 a lot.
Okay.
Actually,
it's like having multiple jazz choruses, which I'm looking at 3 right now, and then I have a couple in the closet out there in my living room. It's like psychotic to have multiple. It's dumb. It's the same thing. You know, it's stupid. Here's the thing. They're all the different shapes, and I love like the weird cult behind them and like the collector's mentality of like I don't even know how many exist. I've Googled it so many times to try and I want like a definitive list of every single model and every difference of every single one, and it's so confusing. So for me, it's just like, oh, cool. That's a size that I don't have in a used music store, and it's not insanely priced. I just want it. It's like a weird collector's thing.
Yeah, I know that.
They basically, yeah, exactly. You know, they basically all sound the same. Each one does something like slightly different. You know, like you can't adjust the chorus rate or depth on the 120. At least the old 120s, it's fixed, but you can adjust the vibrato. On the newer JC40, you can adjust the rate on it. On the JC60, that's a single 12-inch speaker. So that one actually doesn't sound the same as a 120, a stereo one, because it's, you know, on the 120, I believe the way it works is like one of the speakers is just being affected when you throw it into chorus mode, right? So you get like a proper like real chorus, and then the way you're supposed to record that is like, I forget, we've done it before where like we use these tiny little mics. We like looked up maybe how like the Police did it or something like that. How do you mic a jazz chorus, and really interesting like sound you could get out of it, and that's using the proper stereo. Whereas the single speaker is interesting because it's like way different sounding. It almost sounds like a really slow phaser to me, which I don't really care for.
Yeah, I could see that, because the chorus and vibrato in like the earliest JC 120s is pretty much the CE1.
Mm-hmm.
And that the chorus setting is essentially flanger.
Yeah, right.
I mean, kind of flanger. It adjusts the rate and the depth, or I guess the width of the modulated signal at the same time in the chorus.
Oh, okay, I see.
So when it's slower, it sounds more flangy, and when it speeds up, it becomes more of a chorus. But they all kind of sound flangy. Maybe
that's the sound I'm thinking, more flangy than phasery on the 60 that's one speaker, because like it's only hitting the one speaker, so you're not getting like any sort of dry sound, you know, like I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. That I might get roasted for this because I might be getting it wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I recall with all of them. But yeah, no, you don't need. They all sound identical. Like the joke with them is like it's the world's biggest DI box, right? I mean that's
accurate. That's
what it is. You know, but like, you know, they're just cool. Like I've done a couple shows where I take, you know, 3 or 4 of them and set them all up and stack them, and they're all funny different shapes and stuff. So. But yeah, you don't need them. Like, save your money. You only need one, and it really doesn't matter what size it is.
Yeah. The Joe Scott, the other guitar player in my band, Relaxer, for a long time used a JC 120. When he was using that, I was using a Music Man HD 130 and some other super loud amp, and you know. You've seen Relaxer or whatever. It's sort of like a jet engine. That amp is like a fucking laser beam. Like it could be on 2 and it will cut through
Yes.
everybody else. It will be, no matter what, it's louder than everything.
Yeah. I just, for a long time, I guess haven't done this recently, but for like years and years, I was using a JC120 and running it stereo with a 5150 combo, and they're like both the exact same. You've seen us when I've been using the thing. And they're like kind of an identical shape and size, so they like line up perfectly. And it's a cool thing because like that one just barely needs to be in the mix, and it just like cuts through a little bit more, and like I don't know, that's like a pretty fun tone that I was into.
What are your thoughts on EMG pickups in a Telecaster?
I would never ever think to put EMGs in a Telecaster. What is that, like the guy in what is that, like Slipknot or something? Does that guy have something like that?
That sounds like where you would find EMGs in a
Telecaster, yeah. The first pickup that I was actually into in terms of like that's a sound I like was an EMG 81 in a Gibson SG. Like that was my sound. That going through the triple rectifier, that was like a tone that I like really was into. Yeah. Just because it like was powerful, it cut through. I did like a lot of two-handed tapping stuff, and for some reason that particular tone worked really well for me. So like, yeah, in like the mid 2000s, I was definitely like into EMGs. And our band wasn't a metal band. Like we weren't playing like that sort of heavy music, but like something about the clarity of like tapping clean fast riffs over like loud aggressive drums, somehow that like really worked for me.
Yeah, I mean that's what they're made for, I'm pretty sure. I bought like I want to say it was a Sheridan. It was something like some kind of 335 style guitar, but a cheap one, and it had like those, like the worst EMGs in it, like the ones that you would just find at Guitar Center.
Okay.
Like in the middle of nowhere, like that model that they would stock that comes in the box, and it's like,
right. You know, I mean, is that the 81?
I don't know what it is. They're real cheap, and when I saw it, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to change those pickups. They actually sounded great in that guitar. They looked like hell. It's like that, like stealth all black thing.
The worst. I know, and like, yeah, no, you're right. I had like a pink SG, like a salmon colored SG with the like, the black pickup, and that looked all right. But yeah, no, at one point in my life, I did really like EMGs, and it worked for what I was doing. But, and you know, I put them in a Telecaster. Why not? Who cares? Like, yeah, if that's like what you want, that's the sound you want, and that's a guitar that you feel comfortable playing with, I would do that. I haven't thought to ever do that, but sure, why not?
What guitar have you found to? This is kind of easy answer because you play the guitars all the time. But what guitar have you found to be the most well-suited for playing with tons of effects? Also, that question is from Papa Squib.
Papa Squib. I mean, I play, you know, these Squier Supersonics that just, they have kind of like, I guess, like a Duncan design pickup, which is kind of resembles a Seymour Duncan JB kind of thing. That's the pickup arrangement in it. And they're just, I don't know, like something about playing. It's not even so much the guitar, right? It's like the pickups. Like if we're talking like how, like what works really well with playing with a lot of effects, it's really humbucker pickups that like sound awesome to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you on that now. But if you asked me that like even 5 years ago, I would have said the opposite. I became a big fan of single coils because I liked how old fuzz pedals sound with it. They don't blow out and it's not super crushing. But I flipped. Like suddenly I was like, oh, that's actually a better sound. But I feel like that's like personal preference too.
Yeah,
I would agree with you. The humbuckers are they're more suited for everything, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, just generally speaking, and that particular guitar, the Supersonic, was just a guitar that I bought on a whim, and just because I thought it looked kind of funny, and it just, in terms of like it's a comfortable guitar for me to play. It's kind of small and it just works, you know. And like as far as like hitting the type of effect pedals and the types of sounds that I like to get, I would say generally speaking, humbuckers do the trick for me. I mean, I did play my Telecaster for a long time in the band, which, you know, was just like a standard whatever Mexican Tele, which I guess is that a single coil that is in like a Tele? Yeah. So, and I mean, like that sounded fine. I that like worked and it cut really well, but like, yeah, I think mostly like a humbucker vibe is kind of what I would go for.
That's what you go for.
Yeah.
Jaguar or Jazzmaster?
I've been really into the British pronunciation of Jaguar because my friends always roast me when I'm over there, and Jaguar, right? Jaguar.
Jaguar?
Jaguar. Yeah, Jaguar. Yeah, instead of Jaguar, Jaguar. So, all right. I haven't always been like a Jazzmaster or a Jag guy. I did always love offset guitars, but I just never kind of like had one of those that I liked. And then I got these Fender guitars. I got a Fender Jazz and a Jag American Professional a few years ago, and I thought they were really cool. And then, you know, I kind of started being like, oh yeah, okay, Jazzmasters, like all like some of my favorite guitar players play Jazzmasters. That's cool. And then I got, you know, we remember this guy. Talked about this guy.
Yeah, where'd you get that from? Huh?
Yeah, well, I fucking snaked it from you when you tried to sell it to someone else.
That's a great Jazzmaster.
It is. That's good. And then this is just the American Professional that I have. And I did
those Curtis Novak pickups in it.
These Curtis Novak Jazzmaster wide ranges. Do you have any of these?
Yeah, I do. I had them I actually ended up selling the guitar that they were in. I didn't bond with them like I thought I would, but I haven't bonded with any wide range humbuckers. I have a Telecaster. They came in a deluxe, right? Or is it the?
I don't know.
I can't remember. Whatever they're in, they're too dark for me.
These pickups like brought this guitar to life for me. Like I just liked this guitar before and I thought it was cool, but I was like, man, I'm playing with like a lot of overdrive and fuzz right now, and just having the whatever comes in it, the single coils or whatever they are, like it's too noisy, and I'm like, I'm over it. I don't want like buzz right now. I want like quiet, you know. So I put those in there, and then I did this little trick where you get this mastery vibrato. Which, do you do the mastery vibrato on all your guitars?
Mastery vibrato and bridge on every Jazzmaster.
Okay, the bridge, I don't like. Everyone relax about the bridge on the newer Jazzmasters. You don't need it. It's fine. I play guitar just as hard and whatever as all these other badasses out there that insist on changing the bridge. Then they've like,
they fixed it. They fixed the problems. They fixed the problems. And also, anybody could fix that problem, too. You can play as hard as you want on a regular vintage Jazzmaster bridge. You just angle the neck back just a tiny little bit, and it works perfectly fine.
There you go. Okay. I will say, this vibrato, though, when you put that on a guitar, it changes everything.
It makes everything better.
Yes.
It makes it all better.
I remember I played on, so my buddy Bob Bruno in Best Coast, he's got these in every one of his Jags and Jazzmasters, and like I played on it, maybe on his like baritone and maybe a Jag or something, and I played on it. I was like, oh my god, dude, it's the smoothest. Like,
yeah, it really makes a difference in that.
It absolutely does. So I've basically like that's helped me fall in love with Jazzmasters. And on the silver one, your old one, that doesn't have the vibrato, the mastery vibrato, though it does have the mastery bridge on it. So I would like to actually get this guitar, almost make it identical to this other one, and get the Curtis Novak wide ranges, and then flip this guy, and then it'll be amazing.
I would say this though, like, you know, in defense, just because I was like, I didn't bond with those Curtis Novaks. Of all guitar, and maybe it's just because I play Jazzmasters the most, and I feel like I understand them better than other guitars. It really makes a difference what pickups you have in those guitars. It really makes a difference what value of pot you use for the volume controls. I would almost go as far as to say like the tone control makes a difference on those guitars, and I'm one of those people who turns the tone all the way up and pretends like it's not there.
Right.
But I have put different, like, Antiquity 2s. I'll go with those because it's a good one. I bought a set of Antiquity 2, Seymour Duncan Antiquity 2 pickups.
Is that, hold on, is that, yeah. Okay, I got some of those.
Yeah, some of those. And like people were, I heard all about the Antiquities, and it's like they're the closest you're going to get into like a affordable production version of a vintage Jazzmaster pickup. But the Antiquity 2s, like they had something more that I wanted, so I bought some. I put them in a Jazzmaster, and I hated it. I thought it was terrible. I moved them to another Jazzmaster. I didn't hate it as much, but I didn't like it. And then I moved them to eventually to like a third or fourth one. And I found one where I was like, oh my God, these sound great in this guitar. And I feel like I have found that a lot. I change pickups more than any human being should ever do.
Right.
Like almost any time I would change strings on the guitars that I play all the time, I would just be like, man, the strings are off. I'm going to change the pickups, just see what happens. They make such a difference in the Jazzmasters. Like, I don't know, like, if there's slight variation between like where the bridge is placed or where the pickups are routed, or if it's wood or just whatever it is. Like those Antiquity 2s, it took me 3 Jazzmasters till I found one where I was like, oh, this sounds great. And they didn't sound, when I finally thought they sounded great, they didn't sound anything like what they sounded like in the other ones I had them in. It's pretty.
Well, I haven't even taken these out of the box yet. I've just, because like I said, I just when I got those Curtis Novaks, I was like, oh man, dang it. I just really, really like these. And these, I'm going to go with this for now. Check out this Jag. So this is pretty funny. Okay, if I'm going Jag or Jazzmaster, let's put it this way. I have been searching Jags on Craigslist a heck of a lot more than I've been searching Jazzmasters.
Interesting.
If that tells you anything at the moment. So here's my Jag at the moment. Tone just taped all the way up, obviously, like you're saying. Yeah. But this is kind of funny. This is this thing I've been doing. I halfway janky installed this contact mic here, and then it runs along the back, and then I could just plug in, like a line into there, and then send that through all the pedals. And what I'd like to do is have it built. I'd like to remove the tone pot and then have a second jack right there and have this like routed to go in there. But the really, really cool thing about having a contact mic on here is all the metal on the guitar and all the switches. The contact mic totally picks up every last little thing, every tap you do all over the guitar. You come up here, it picks it up, and it's like a really, really fun, like percussive thing. Yeah. So I'm almost like, dude, I want to have like, I would love to have this like full on custom to be this like a guitar I could switch between like, oh yeah, just playing a Jag and like a weird percussive drum set kind of thing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But yes, I've been into that. And then I want to put in this other pickup that our buddy O got me super into is the DiMarzio Fast Track 2. Do you know about this?
No.
Hold on, sorry. It's it's this guy. So here's an old Bronco.
Oh.
And it's DiMarzio Fast Track 2. And oh my God, dude, it's I guess is that considered a rail? That's one of the rail pickups. I was big into the cool rails for a while. This pickup makes a janky little thin dumb guitar like this sound so massive and big, and I loved it, and I thought it was such a cool thing that I want to put one of those in the Jag and see what happens.
That's awesome. I might have had one of those once. I had an old Mustang, and it had an ancient DiMarzio in it. Like I don't know how old DiMarzio as a company is, but it was an old DiMarzio and it was purple.
Like, yeah, that's it. Yes,
dark purple.
That's it.
That pickup was fucking amazing. It was the best sounding Mustang I ever owned.
Yes, that's it. You can get the Fast Tracks in different colors, and I want a pink one for the Jag.
Nice.
That's that pickup. You should get one of those pickups again and drop it in just a thin sounding whatever guitar. It's so big sounding.
I will definitely check that out. Have you ever fucked with the Seymour Duncan custom shop where you can make your own pickups?
Never done that.
I am big into their Jazzmaster 59 for Jazzmaster. It's like their Les Paul 59 humbucker.
Oh, awesome.
It looks like a Jazzmaster pickup. They're a little bit pricey, but they sound amazing.
That's rad. I mean,
they're my current favorites, but
I just think the theme of the answer to this question is like to get a Jazzmaster or a Jaguar, to get either one of those, like to get them to sound really big. That's a cool thing because they're not supposed to be. They weren't designed to be.
They were not designed. I also like the bridge is too close to the pickup, to the neck. Like just all that spacing. They lend, especially the Jaguar.
Yeah.
They lend themselves to just being thin. That model though that you have, that American Pro, I feel like that fixed that problem. Like for the most part, just wherever that spacing is.
Yeah.
You get more low end. It's less. It's not as thin.
Yeah, and it's like I like both of them. I mean, like I said, I've been playing the Jag maybe a little bit more just because of that contact mic and stuff. But they're both like really cool guitars, and yeah, I don't know that I could pick one, but I guess maybe the Jag for now because it's kind of hitting the spot.
Do you think you could pull off a Tera Melos show without a DL4?
Yeah, I don't. There's not too many songs or riffs that are like full on built around that thing, and like I said, I've had plenty of DL4s go down on me where I probably did have to play the rest of the show without a DL4. So like it's fun. I would say there's a small amount of like things that proper like truly depend on it, or if we're like have transitions that we like to do or whatever, like I do use it as a crutch for stuff like that, but like absolutely I could play shows without that thing. No problem.
Two separate questions that go together. Can you explain, divulge your working relationship with Zach Hill? How did you two meet? How have you continued to work with him?
So Zach Hill is this drummer. He played in a band called Hella in the 2000s. I mean, I guess technically he still plays in that band. But it's just this crazy drummer. Pop his name into YouTube or something if you aren't familiar. But he's like I truly believe he is like the Jimi Hendrix of drums, and I think it's insane that we like exist at the same time. That guy is like a lot.
He is a mind blower. I know that we've talked about this before, but my old band Party of Helicopters ended up on a month-long tour with Hella.
Yes.
And I don't think either of us knew anything about the other one. And every single one of us, like the first night of watching Hella, were like, it's completely like fucking mind. Like I'm at a loss for words currently on it.
Totally.
Still. Whereas like you watch it, and he pulls like these drums that look like they came out of the trash.
Yes.
And like everything is broken, and he sits all like low and like hunched over, and then proceeds to be better than every fucking drummer on earth. Better technically, and better, like more interesting than everybody else, and totally approaches the drums as though he had never even heard of what drums should be like, and invented his own way of playing drums.
I was going to say he changed the instrument. Like that person changed the way that like you can play drums.
Yeah, and a total sweetheart too of a human being.
Yeah, and I grew up watching him play. I had never met him. I was just one of the nerds that went to all the shows that I could. And then a mutual friend of ours, Dan Elkin, who was in Hella at one point, grew up with those dudes. I remember he sent me a text, or he called me one night and was like, "Hey, this is kind of crazy. Would you be okay if I gave your number to Zach Hill?" And I'm like, what? Like, because it was always a weird thing. Like, I wouldn't even like do the nerdy thing where I like went up to him after a show and be like, "Hey man, good show." I wouldn't even do that. I'm like, I don't even want to talk to that guy. I don't want to like mess this up. I just want to observe him, doing his thing. So anyways, blah, blah, blah. Like Dan connected us. We got together. It was like, because I had like, he had informed so much of the way that I like heard music, and he had changed everything for me. Like I had kind of like started developing the way I played based off of the way he played drums and like the way his bands were and stuff. So when we first started playing together, it was like almost immediate. It was like a really quick like chemistry thing that we had. We made a record together. Then I kind of like contributed to one of his solo records, and then it just sort of built up over the years to where like, and we've played some shows. I've recorded on a bunch of stuff he's done. He plays in this band Death Grips now, and for a lot of the times it's like, oh yeah, when he would be in town, or when we were in the same, city, like I would just shoot him like a random text, like, hey, what are you up to right now? Like, I'm in town. We should hang out. Oh, working on a Death Grips record. You should come by. Okay, cool. I'm there. And in fact, like if I was going to be in Sacramento, it might even be the kind of thing where I'm like, shit, I should bring some pedals with me and a guitar just in case like those dudes are around working on stuff. Cause that's the way it would be. Like, you just have to be like that, like, oh, yeah. Cool. Tomorrow at 11, you're working on stuff. Cool. I'll be there, So, but yeah, cool. Greatest dude. It like, not to be nerdy about it, but I still think about like, man, this is fucking crazy that like I know that guy, and like it's weird to say that because like, oh yeah, we're like I think we met in maybe 2007, and like he's a close friend now, and I have a few friends like that where I can just like remove myself from the friendship and be like, that's so fucking nuts that I know that dude or that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's one of my favorite all-time musicians, not all-time drummers. I mean, of course, all-time drummers, but like one of my favorite musicians of all time.
Yeah, he is amazing. Yep. I totally agree. Tell him I said hi next time.
You got it. You got it.
Hopefully there's an answer to this. What pedal are you singing about in No Phase?
Okay. This one. I'm taking the tape off.
Is this I think I know what this is. This is how I think I became aware of you.
This flanger BF2. I think this is a Japanese one. Yes, it is. It's got the green label on. Oh, I just peeled it off because I peeled off the Velcro. So, dude named Arizona in the mid-2000s, a guy named David gave this to me. It was broken. And it would do this thing where when you would turn it on, it would give you this like flange blast of like it sounded like a spaceship taking off. And I could not believe it. I loved it so much because like you could just kind of like crank it on and it would totally like take over the mix would just be so hot and it would take over everything for a second. And it was this crazy sound that you had not heard before. I had never heard before. Yeah. And then I used it live a bunch. It's on the record I made with Zach Hill, and it's the only record that this pedal made it onto, the Bygones record. It's in there somewhere, which I haven't listened to in a decade, but it would be cool to hear that pedal sound. And then Tera Melos went to Japan. I think maybe it was our first time there or something. It must have been. It was 2009. We get to Japan. I've got that on my board, like you're kind of stressed out, like at the first show, like making sure everything works again, which half of it doesn't. And this pedal no longer made that sound. And the reason David gave it to me in the first place, I may have missed this, is because it was broken. And it makes this weird sound, like when you turn it on, like it's like an unusable, like crazy, like flange takeoff. And then when I landed and I got it all set up again, it no longer made that sound. So somehow in the rustling of everything, it had corrected itself. And it is not the internal pots in this thing. I've tried it. I don't think it was one of those, because you can like adjust them on the inside and make it really, really wild. And I swear I've tried to recreate that sound and I could never get it to do that again.
I think that is how I became aware of you and Tera Melos. Were you trying to get that fixed to go back to working how it was when it was broken at some point? I'm sure. Yeah. There is somebody posting about that on Harmony Central.
Absolutely. I would have like posted somewhere whatever year that would have been like, oh, can like maybe I don't know where it would have been, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody about it. I was like, I'll take a look at it, and that's how I became aware of you. I think
that's amazing. I mean,
Broken Pedal.
You know, your pyramids does a very similar thing. How you can cue the like blast,
the trigger function,
trigger it. It's just like this one was way more over the top, like way crazy the way it would like trigger as soon as you turn it on. But that's what I thought was so cool about the pyramids was like, ooh, there's a pedal that I could get close to that sound on there, you know?
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, I wrote a song about it. I was like, fuck, all right, let me just memorialize this pedal in a song.
What made you decide to deny conventional guitar playing and search for your own voice?
I think conventional guitar playing meant practicing, like sitting down and sitting like this and holding the guitar and practicing something over and over again until it sounded right, faster, soloing, understanding like modes and how to apply this and how to apply that. And that just started to feel like homework to me. And like when I was in school, in high school and then junior college for a little bit, all I did was like daydream about like being in a band and playing on tour and playing shows. And when I got to the point of like, you know, not just being a dumb teen playing punk rock guitar, it's like, okay, yeah, you could get better at it, but like in order to get better like that, you just you have to treat it like school almost. You have to like take it that seriously. At least that's the way I thought about it. And I was like fully uninterested. And even to this day, I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me to play that way. So like, you know, going in that other direction of like, all right, like punk rock spirit, whatever, you know, then you hear bands like Fugazi or something, or Hella or Dillinger Escape Plan that like have a punk rock spirit and energy, but are doing something a little different with it. And you hear the way that those bands play guitar and you're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Like, I feel like that's kind of coming from the same place that I'm thinking about it. And then that's how you kind of like go down that path, you know, but like,
yeah,
I guess that's kind of like unconventional for me, and just where I was like, I don't want this. I don't want to like practice this. I don't want to make this something that like I get bored doing.
Right. Know? That's it's exactly how I feel about stuff. Over the years, I feel like I've become a little bit more of a traditional guitar player, but it's not the mathematics, I would say, behind guitar that would make me interested in guitar. And it seems like that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's the thing that makes me want to not ever touch a guitar. Like if I was very concerned about being precise and knowing my like modes, or like knowing, oh, that's this scale, I don't know if I would want to play guitar. It sounds like work. It sounds awful. It doesn't sound creative in any way whatsoever. But
yeah, I mean,
I don't know what that is. We do come from a same background though, in which it's more of a like, I just want to be in a band and go on tour. I'm going to do whatever like you can do to get there.
Totally. And still, like, even like our band started to become a band that did that in around 2004, and still that's what I want to do. That's like what I daydream about still when I'm not doing it. Like, cool, go on tour, have fun, be with friends, play music, and like play live music. That's what, you know, drives me to keep playing guitar. And that the stuff that, you know, like getting better or conventional guitar just doesn't fit into that equation so much.
Playing shows, doesn't that sound like it would be fun? Doesn't that's the one thing I think I might miss from this?
Yeah, I know.
A month of this thing, and who knows what shows are going to look like in the future.
Again, don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it either. So I've been choosing not to, but it's pretty weird. But you know, now would be the time for us to like come out of this like Steve Vai virtuosos,
right? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, maybe if this does go on until like 2022, maybe I'll learn like sweep picking or something. But like,
have you ever sat down and tried to do that? Have you ever like just like spent 10 minutes to try to like sweep picking?
One day got a hair up my ass where I was like, I think if I could do sweep picking, I could figure out something interesting to do with it that's not whatever shredder style. So I printed out like a 30-page PDF, like lesson plan, because I'm doing I wanted to do the exact opposite of what I'm like trashing right now. I'm like, I want to have like a thing I can practice and like just try it. And I printed it all out and sat down to do it. And I was like, I'm good. I don't want to do it.
That's exactly. I didn't print anything out, but I looked at one video and was like, fuck it. I'm good. This long without doing that, I'll be fine for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck, it would be so cool to be able to do that and have it sound so smooth and robotic like those guys can do it. And I'm like, there's too much. It's too much. I can't get there. Like, I don't want to. Yeah. So I may have just like thrown that PDF in the trash, like right there. And it probably took up like, the rest of like my printing ink cartridge or whatever. I was like, I'm doing this. I don't care. No, I'm good.
Yeah. Trying to learn sweep picking led to a trip to Office Max.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly.
Do you think of a sound you want for a song, or do you just jam until something sticks?
I was just giving a guitar lesson today, and I realized when answering that very question that I like stumbled upon a new answer for it, because my answer has kind of traditionally been like, well, I do a lot of like playing with the guitar unplugged, sitting on the couch watching a TV show or something, and then kind of like, ooh, wherever the hand lands, that's kind of cool. What's something that could come after that? And then, all of a sudden, an hour later, you have two guitar parts that sound cool together. Like, ooh, I can't wait till tomorrow I can plug this in and go try it or something.
Yeah.
But there have been times, there's a couple riffs I can think of where I was like, I want to write a fast thing. I want to go as fast as I can with my right hand and picking, and I want it to have this vibe, fast, techie thing, and I just kind of like want to arbitrarily select the notes and then adjust from there. Mm-hmm. So in a case like that, if it's fully like a vibe that I'm thinking of in my head, like, no, I want it's this rhythm. I'm thinking of this rhythm, and I just want to fill in the rhythm with notes. Yeah. And I was like, whoa, shit, you're like, this guy busted me on it. I'm like, I totally do that a lot. Maybe not a lot, but I can pick to like different eras and like songs. I'm like, that section did not start with a guitar. It started with these just like chaotic drum parts that I was imagining in my head.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that. I am a drummer first, guitar is second, I feel like, but I only play guitar now because playing drums sucks. It's a lot of shit to carry around. It's a lot of work. You get real sweaty. I typically think rhythmically. I think in time signatures that I don't really even understand because, I feel like drums came naturally to me, so I could just play the drums. I never bothered to learn like what time signature anything is in, but I do a lot of bullshitting where it's like I've thought of the rhythm, I've got the gist of where my hands are and like the key the song is in, and I'll take it to practice and be like, oh, it goes like this, and like that first attempt is sort of like, sometimes I feel like I can pull it off where I'm like, oh yeah, no one knows that I'm just like, I thought of this, I didn't play it.
Right. Yeah.
And by the time you're done, you're like, okay, all the notes belong together now, and it's in an acceptable rhythm that people can understand and play along to.
Yeah.
But I do a lot of that.
Totally. And that's like a fun way to approach writing something, of like conceptualizing it first and then filling everything in, like after that.
I think it makes it interesting, I feel like. Totally. You'll end up coming up with stuff that like sounds like you spent a long time writing it, but really just sort of like slid into place.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to sound like this.
Sorcery.
Yeah. I wanted to sound like this, and my hands feel comfortable right here, and I'm just going to go and just, that's cool. There it is. It's, I don't know, it works for me. Somehow it works out sometimes.
I'm going to ask you this question from Commodity Creature.
Okay.
Because I cannot tell. Actually, I can totally tell. There's one person who's trying to get at you.
Okay.
In this whole list.
Nice.
Can you play a mixolydian? Is that a word? Mixolydian?
Yes.
Mixolydian? Can you play a mixolydian scale in 16th notes at 250 BPM? Or do you only play no skill beat boops?
Well, yeah, I only play no skill beat boops, 100%, without a doubt. Again, it's like I'm just beating a dead horse here, but like and that question may have even been in jest too, but like
I'm just really hoping it is, but like, I can't tell anymore with people.
And I totally, even if this was like a Fender Strat player that Googled my name and saw that, thought I was an idiot or something, like I totally respect that. Someone thinking that based on like watching something. So I totally get that question. But again, I don't know that stuff. I know there's like, I've found myself in LA playing with a lot of jazz guys.
Yeah.
And it's the most stressful musical environment I've ever been in, playing with real jazz dudes. And because I'm always like, oh, I gotta be able to like hang with them. You gotta like hang with the big boys, like, at the adult table or whatever. And I come away from those situations feeling proud of myself that I didn't like have an aneurysm and like I got like props at the end of the show. As my friend put it, my buddy Eric, who's a drummer, he's like, dude, it'll put hair on your chest. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. And every time I get one of those gigs or whatever, I kind of try and find a way to get out of it. And I'm like, no, I gotta stay strong and do it. And I do think that in terms of like homework and conventional or getting better at guitar, not that jazz music is conventional, but like that is something I wish I had like the energy or brain power to like commit to like learning about that style of music, because I do think had I in my 20s or back then, like had I figured out that particular like area of guitar playing, I think that would have benefited me today in some things that I would find interesting being able to do. Like, and maybe that's knowing the modes or like having a better understanding of like, because when I'm playing with these guys and I've just got the big dumb pedal board and I'm making bleep bloops or whatever, no talent bleep bloops, I'm like looking around and I'm like, oh my God, these are like, I can't believe what I'm like hearing around me. And here I'm doing like a sound over like these amazing, jazz musicians. And I'm like, fuck. It would be nice if I knew a little more about what was happening around me. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but I also see the other side of that. Like jazz is a style of music that, quite honestly, I'm really just not that into, and like I've never really gone down that road. Like I like Mahavishnu Orchestra, like
sure.
That kind of, like a bastardized version of jazz, I guess,
totally.
Or Tony Williams' Lifetime. That falls under jazz too, right?
I guess so.
I like a lot of that. I would never put on like any kind of improv like jazz record, but I like it when I see it live.
Totally.
I myself, almost anytime anyone's like, do you want to just sit in on guitar? I'm like, no, I'm good, because I'm afraid to do it because I don't know like what I know, if that makes sense. And I feel like, you putting yourself in that position, you figure out like where you fit in. And some of those people can play on such a level that they like understand it and they have deconstructed it all. And that is why they choose to play that kind of music, because there's a lot of freedom to it. You can find the places where you fit in. Like in the last couple of years, I feel like I've gotten more comfortable with just being like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. And to me, that leads to less anxiety. I feel that way about everything. Like
totally
public speaking, like being on dumb panels about gear, even like doing videos for EarthQuaker, things like that. It's like, yeah, whatever. Let's see what happens. And it's like, you just fit in there. You get in there and like you find out like, oh, yes, I can do it. And this is how I do it.
Someone said to me recently after one of these things, played a show with guys or whatever. I was like, yeah, man, was I okay? Did I because sometimes I wish I could do this more. And maybe a couple people mentioned this and they were like, you get you get asked by the people, they want to play with you because of what you do, because you're good at what you do.
Right, exactly.
Not because they want you to be able to do all of that stuff, you know?
Right.
Same thing with what you're saying. Like, people want to have you on a panel because they want to hear Jamie Stillman talking the way he talks about this stuff, not to be able to talk like so-and-so, or for me not to be able to play like this guy. They want me to play like me.
They appreciate your insight into things because it's different. It's different than what other people do.
Yeah.
But
that made me feel a lot better too when I thought about it from that perspective.
Yeah. Maybe now's the time for this EarthQuaker question.
Yeah. Great. I can't wait.
Because I'm dying to know myself.
Okay.
Name the most boring, the most overrated, and just to break even again, the most underrated.
Who sent that amazing question?
Slint transparent. There are no vowels in here. SLNT.TRNSPRNT.
Okay. I like props to that person because, you know, they thought they would leave like maybe kind of a trolly question, but I'm like, oh, that's a great question because that's like,
I feel like it's thoughtfully asked. There's like the one eye, tongue out emoji in there.
Okay. And
helpful.
yeah, and also this is kind of like taking it back to Howard Stern. Like, you're putting me in the hot seat, and I'm like, it's you that's asking me that question. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So, all right, let's go most boring. And here's the thing. To me, this pedal is the most boring, and I think about it that way because I don't understand it. And the most boring EarthQuaker pedal, I saw it earlier. What the hell is it? Hold on. What did I do with it? Oh yeah, this pedal is so boring. I can't even identify it because it's just like it just blends in. The Bose, and here's why I think this is the most boring pedal, because I don't understand it. I don't understand the context in which I would use this. Who would use this? I remember getting this pedal. I think I got this pedal with a batch of like 6 others. Maybe that. What else was around this time? Maybe the Arrows?
I'm going to have to really rack my brain to think about this, but there is a long, internally stressful backstory to that pedal and the time that it was released.
Okay.
It is one of 8 pedals that came out on the same day at NAMM.
That's what it was, and I got all of them at the same time in the same box.
Yeah, I think it was Bose, and there was Arrows. I think Arrows at the same time.
I believe so. It would have been Bose and Arrows.
Nightwire, Spatial Delivery, Gray Channel, Spires.
Yep. Yes.
Maybe some revisions. I can't remember. Either way, it was one of those things. It was like it was probably it's what sent EarthQuaker on a more streamlined trajectory. It was shortly after Julie came on, right when we moved into our new shop, and I was like, I've got all these pedals done. We're just going to put them out at NAMM. No big deal. And everyone was like, that's crazy. Why are we going to do that? It's like, what? It's just 8 pedals. We'll just put out 8 pedals. It doesn't matter. Right. Everyone was mad at me, and like I was like, yeah, fuck it, whatever. And I just never thought about it again because I wasn't having to build them. And like everyone was cool, and like some of them worked, some of them didn't work, and like everything was fine. And then it was like 2 years later, like it was like a delayed reaction. Like everyone started yelling at me about the one time I put out 8 pedals. And to this fucking day, if things ever get like stressful in a meeting, they're like, you decided to put out 8 pedals one time. I will never live it down. Okay. And that pedal was the bummer of the bunch.
So then I got it right. I'm like, my answer. Right. I got the right answer.
That's the worst selling EarthQuaker pedal in history.
Oh my god! So I answered. I gave you the right answer for the most boring EarthQuaker pedal. Wow.
That's my answer too.
Answer right.
Yeah.
Okay. Most overrated?
Yeah, most overrated is next.
Okay. Most overrated. 100%. 100% the most overrated EarthQuaker devices pedal would be the Data
Corruptor. Data.
So, and I say this because I love this pedal. This is like one of my favorite PLLs. I love all of the like tuning, all the different intervals of tuning. I've done a lot of cool things with this. Here's why it was overrated to me. Because I don't think too many people, as far as what I could hear, got beyond the sound. I think it did a lot of that. Yeah. And I don't think many people were able to get beyond that. And it's a big pedal. I mean, this is it was whatever size. What is the size of this encasing?
1790.
A 1790. So it's a big guy, and it takes up a lot of space, right? And it does one sound really, really good. And I think I was always kind of eye-rolly about like how much hype this pedal got, because I'm like, it's a PLL, and this was, maybe it was also like, I don't know how maybe it got marketed in a way where everyone was like, oh, everyone was rushing, gotta get it. And like, then I think I'm like, how are this many people freaking out over this very like specific sound?
Exactly.
Maybe you and I have even talked about this, or like the joke was like, let's see how many of those end up on Craigslist when people got it. And they're like, okay, it does that sound. What am I supposed to do with it now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the time, I just think it was overrated in a way where it was like, everyone was like, it was hyped up, and it's like the perception of it was like, oh my God, this EarthQuaker is doing a PLL, like this is going to be amazing. And it is an amazing PLL, but like maybe when you realize what that sound is and like how specialized it is, fuck, we were talking about a phaser taking over the whole thing. Forget it, dude. This thing, like if you turn this on, it
obliterates the signal. And there is something to be said too, like just with first of all, like the super harsh square wave fuzz that like powers the whole thing.
Yes.
That is a sound. That's a grating sound, but it's necessary to make that thing work the way that it works and to get it to shut off and, track well. I still love that pedal. I don't know if I internally felt like it was overrated. It was like at a time where like we were like crossing like another threshold of like, I was like, God, we're so much bigger of a company than I ever thought we would be or imagined we would be. And that pedal came out in like another transition to like another level of like being busy and hiring more people and everything. And like the initial sales, it was also like one of the earliest ones, like Chris's like videos for it, like lead up to it, were really good.
Okay, no, that's what I'm saying. The marketing. It was like, it was the beginning of like the EarthQuaker like marketing like era of like.
It was like, it came out shortly after Chris started working there, and we started doing all those teaser videos and stuff. And it was like, it wasn't even like let's do these cool videos to get people to buy pedals. It was like, let's make some funny videos because it's fun.
Of course.
Like, it actually ended up working out that way where people got like super excited about it, even though most people have no idea what a Schumann PLL is, which is like kind of the heart of that pedal. I like that you're battling this bug.
I know. There's a moth that just appeared. By the way, here is a real Schumann PLL.
How do you have this?
This is not mine. This is John Schmerzel's from the band Brainiac and Vertical Scratchers. And he just he was like, hey, I got one of these. Do you want to try it? And he let me borrow it. This is number 26, by the way. Schumann's name, Scratch. Oh, that's amazing. His name is actually like etched on the back.
Yeah, etched on the back of them. But I mean, a little more backstory on the Data Corruptor. It was not pulled directly from the Schumann PLL. I actually found how that the multiplication and division of the signal is done in an old book. And it turns out it's done exactly the same way that Schumann did it, because really there's only one way to do that shit. But I will say that you picking that as an overrated pedal possibly confirmed, because when it first came out, we sold a ton of those pedals. And then there was like a decline. And it's leveled. Like, it hasn't died. It's still like in, it's an okay seller, I guess. But it did, like, there was like a rapid, like people got it and were like, oh, this is what it does.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly right. That was what my interpretation of it was. And again, I love the pedal, and I like it's a completely unique version that I just think is cool, and I can do things with that pedal that am unable to do with other PLL pedals I've come across. But like, it was just funny. Yeah, exactly all the things you're saying. The marketing behind it, all of a sudden, like these really neat like teaser videos and like an actual marketing campaign for stuff, as opposed to here's 8 pedals, here's 8 brand new pedals. Fuck it, you guys like kind of like turn the page on that, and I was just cracking up like, oh yeah, there's all these people that are freaking out for this. Like, there's no way that like all of these people are going to know how to wrangle a pedal like that.
Yeah, underrated, most underrated.
All right, I think my answer is controversial because I don't think that I'm guessing this is actually not like an underrated pedal, but wherever it's rated, I think it just needs to be higher rated regardless. Which would be this one.
The Plumes.
The Plumes. I only saw lots and lots of positive things about this pedal, but is this only $99 street price?
It is only $99 street price.
I think if you are any pedal person that has even a remote hint of like collecting or likes to have a bunch of stuff for options, for $100 to get this style overdrive that makes any amp, any guitar sound good that I've tried, I think it would be crazy to not have that pedal. So that's what I have to say about that. I think it totally. I think, and I know these aren't the same, but like Westwood was my go-to for that sound. And then when this came out, I was like, I know this isn't technically considered like the transparent thing, but like I actually prefer the sounds I could get of that style out of the Plumes than the Westwood. And I've like used this so much. And again, it's like, it's $100, which means, wow, what, I wonder what those go for used. Like, what can you get? Right? Like,
I don't know. Like, I don't know really. This is one of those things. I've you know me, but like, I'm so uncomfortable talking about my own pedal company, like talking about stuff because I'm afraid that it comes off as like I'm fucking great. Check out all this shit, and I'm not one of those people. I'm much more inclined to sit in my basement and make stuff than I am to talk about how well it's doing or like what happened with it or whatever. I will say this about the Plumes. Some of that was like, for me, it was just sort of, I had that circuit for a long time. I was sort of like on the fence because it's like a tube screamer, essentially like a higher fi tube screamer that came up with the idea around the Palisades, blah, blah, blah. Palisades came out, it did what it did. But I always just kept using that pedal myself and was like skeptical, like, does the world need another tube screamer? Maybe we can find something cool to do with this. And I was sort of like, I believe that almost anybody could use this pedal. And because of that, and because it's not an easy pedal to make, but it's not terribly taxing. Could we make this affordable? Like, we're going to take a hit, and we do take a hit on that pedal. We make $0, and I know people don't understand that, but we make $0 on that pedal.
Wow.
On the same token, that pedal came out August 3rd on EarthQuaker Day last year, August 3rd, and we have sold over 10,000 of them.
Wow. So is that...
In perspective, the Hoof is the first pedal that we put out, and it's like at like 11,000, 12,000.
Whoa. Okay.
Avalanche is like viewed as our most popular pedal. It's been out for 5 years now, and that's like 15,000.
Okay.
Like, it is done really well, but people don't talk about it at all.
Okay, now that's where I'm going. So clearly it is not underrated in sales because it's on track to like crush everything
well. But like part of that whole thing was just sort of like, what can we do to make like something? It's an accessible pedal that anybody could use. How do we make it like more accessible? And it's sort of like we sell it at this price where we make $0. But it's sort of like if there were people who ever wanted to try an EarthQuaker pedal, this is like the best that we can do. Like, this is the price point that we can make this thing at.
Right.
And it's sort of like, I don't want us to be like, I'm giving you a break.
Right.
It was sort of like one of those things where it's like all these people are like, your pedals are cool, but they're not affordable. That's like rock bottom, like, for how we could do it.
Totally.
And we have to build so many of them, and it takes up so much time and everything. That's how it ends up that way. We actually lose money on the pedal. It's not that we make $0; it's that we lose money on the pedal.
Right.
But I'm happy with the decision to do that. I can't explain why. It's not for the number of pedals sold or anything like that, but it's sort of like it's something obtainable, I guess, for people who want to try something from EarthQuaker.
Totally. And that's what I'm saying. Like $100, that's like add to cart. There's no thinking about that. It's interesting to me, like, that you just don't. Yeah, maybe like you said, maybe not. It's just I don't hear about it as much, but clearly the sales don't reflect that. But I just think for as much as we hear about it or as much as they sell, there should just be more. That should just be doubled because it's such a great sounding pedal. And like, I didn't, when that came out, I'm like, I don't really need to use my Palisades and I don't really need to use the Dunes because honestly, I think this one sounds better for what I'm trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel again, I made the stupid thing, and I'm talking about me and the shit that I play and whatever, but I did the same thing. It removed a bunch of pedals from my pedal boards. This was like, oh, this does the thing. Between that and the amp, it's sort of like I can do all the things I was trying to do with like 4 other overdrive pedals. But
I might even suggest, or maybe I'll bug you for this, to have 2 plumes built into 2 plume circuits and 1 double pedal, so I can have 2 different settings.
I've thought about doing that.
I think that would be
one with 2 foot switches where you can do presets.
I mean, something like that would be a really cool thing because there's just like I remember specifically the tone knob. There's so much to get out of that, and by turning that and doing different things, I get a ton. And then just having different gain stages, and it's a really cool thing. I wouldn't mind having 2 on a pedal board or a double of it or something. But
I'll keep it in mind.
There you go. Good to know. So that's I'm really happy we did that question. I thought that one was cool.
Me too. It wasn't. That's sort of like throwing yourself into improv. I wanted to ask you that question. I was sort of afraid of the answer, but I feel like you gave all the answers that I would have gave, actually.
And I'm glad I saw that one too, because I couldn't have just like on a whim. I had to think about that. Like, oh no, that's a funny question. How would I answer that? You guys are my friends. I love everything you do. Like, how would I answer that kind of funny question in a real and honest way? And I think that's it.
Well, you nailed it.
Great.
There are so many more questions, but I feel like I don't know how. Do people want to watch 2 hours of us talking?
Yeah, Chris will have some editing to do.
There's some good ones, but one question that came up a bunch, and I don't really know like how we want to talk about this because,
Sure. How is Juan doing?
How's Juan doing?
How is Juan doing? By the way, I saw him this afternoon.
Oh, you did?
I told him, hey, I'm doing a video interview with Jamie today. Is there any messages that you want me to give to him? And he said, tell him I'll hit him up when I get out of here. And I was like, all right, can do.
For some reason, that's like the best answer that I could have hoped for.
Yeah.
That's what he would say.
That's what he would say. Yeah. It's hard to, when people ask that question, how's Juan doing? It's hard to explain because he's doing a lot better. It's been just over 3 months, and he's doing light years better than he was 3 months ago. Yeah. That's not to say he doesn't have a long road ahead of him. Like, he and I can like hang out and talk and FaceTime and like talk shit and like kind of like laugh about stuff, but which is amazing. And he's made all these like very, very massive improvements, but like there's still so many things which are like, ooh, that's crazy. Like that's going to be a big hurdle. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know how much like to divulge because then It's hard when you don't have the full picture.
Right, and that's kind of why I was reluctant. I know a lot. I just know that, like, I don't know how much can really go out. And whatnot. Yeah. But I mean, everything that I know, like, I am really blown away by, like, all of the progress and, like, how quickly it, like, when things started to turn back on, like, how quickly it started to turn around.
Yeah. Yes. And now, and it's so funny because of what I was telling him today, because, you know, like, Juan gets, like, a little worried or, like, scared or, like, stresses on stuff. And I'm always reminding him, like, no, dude, you got to think of it this way. Like, you couldn't even, like, you were laying in bed asleep for weeks 2 months ago. And now you're up and, like, yeah, you can't, like, really walk perfectly right now. And, like, you're having trouble remembering things. But, like, you know, we didn't even know that you would even ever open your eyes again.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Like, you have to really, like, I'm always reminding him, like, there's all these, like, crazy things that have happened. And now we got to think, like, who knows where you're going to be, you know, 3 weeks, 3 months from now, a year from now. So, like, always remember that, like, all these little steps that you might not recognize are so massive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's hard to explain Juan, like, if you don't know anything about him at all, but, like, I always felt like he would come out of this and, like, eventually be, you know, back to Juan. Like, he's kind of designed to beat shit like this. I feel he always strikes me as a person who has all this shit to do and he's just got to get it done.
Right.
It doesn't matter, like, what the, you know, what it takes to get it done. He's just going to get it done. He's I don't know. He's very motivated, strong-willed person.
Yes, definitely. And his awareness levels kind of, like, jump, like, every week. Like, whoa, he's crazy. He's getting this, you know? So, like, yeah, he knows that he's got to, like, in order to get home and get back to work, like, dude, you got to start walking. You got to be able to, like, go into the kitchen and pour yourself a cup of coffee and make a sandwich and walk upstairs, you know? And when you can get that, like, then you're going to be able to, like, move forward. But that's what you're working towards right now. And, like, he's definitely, like, on that path. Absolutely. So,
yeah. No, I mean, it's all the updates that I've been getting and everything I heard from Julie when she went out there and all that, you know, from Anne, like, everything is mind-blowing and it's fucking awesome that it's happening so quickly. I feel like it might not feel like it's happening quickly, but it is happening quickly, I feel like.
In fact, today, literally, he made a comment, something about how, like, I just want to keep doing more, you know, or something. And I'm like, well, dude, like, the thing is like, when you're able to take 5 steps on your own without the thing or the guy behind you, it's like, of course you're going to be like, fuck, I want to be able to take 10 steps. But, like, you got to acknowledge, like, realize, like, all of us are going to be like, fuck, he took 5 steps by himself. That's insane. And of course, that's what you're saying. Like, it's in his brain to just be like, no, I got to keep going. Where it's like, yes, that's true. And that's a good attitude to have. But, like, keep in mind, all of these things that come before whatever you want to be at are so massive for you, you know?
Yeah. Well, cool. I think that we probably have a lot there to work with.
I know. Please take all the liberties you need to make this watchable.
I think it was fun. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. We could do a part 2 sometime down the line to cover the rest of the trope.
Should. I got so many questions. We didn't even, like, get through, like, a tenth of them.
I figured this is what would happen. We would, like, kind of go off on big rants about stuff, and
that's how I felt too. But it was cool. It was good to talk to you.
Man.
Good to talk to you. See somebody who's not inside my house.
I know, right? I'm with that. Although the only thing that I ever see inside my house is my dog, but, like, it's good to see you and catch up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Glad I could be the guinea pig. Good talking to you too.
All right.
All right, dude. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Later.
See ya.